There was once a woman named Kashima-san. She suffered abuse at home and was bullied at school. With no place to go, the girl considered suicide and threw herself onto the railway tracks. Her lower body was severed, but she didn't die straight away. Her upper torso spent some time crawling around, looking for the lower half of her body. To all who hear this story, Kashima-san will appear to them within 3 days, late in the night. She will try to take your lower body, but there is an incantation you can recite to drive her away. On the first day, you can chant Kashima-san 3 times to make her disappear. On the second day, you can chant Ka wa kamen no ka, Shi wa shibito no shi, Ma wa mamono no ma, and she will disappear. But on the third day, no matter what you chant, nothing will work. To completely drive Kashima-san away, you must share this story with someone within 3 days. That is the only way to break her spell. Hello, and welcome to Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. I'm your host, Tara A. Devlin, and on this show we'll be looking at different urban legends from Japan, how they came about, and, when possible, the truth behind them. On this week's episode, we're going to be looking at one of the most popular urban legends in Japan right now, Kashima-san. Just like Kuchisake Onna, Kashima-san has been around since the 70s, and possibly even earlier, so there's a ton of information out there, and a lot of it conflicting. We're going to do our best to make some sense of it here today. So, who is Kashima-san? Kashima-san, or Kashima-san, is an urban legend that's most commonly tied to either Kuchisake Onna or Teke Teke, a more recent urban legend who is basically a carbon copy of Kashima-san. There are some versions of the Kuchisake Onna legend that claim her real name is actually Kashima-san, or that Kashima-san is her daughter instead. But at heart, Kashima-san is a ghost who appears to people while they are sleeping. She is generally depicted as missing the lower half of her body, and her uniqueness lies in the fact that if you don't pass her story on within 3 days, she will appear to claim you as well. This allows her story to spread, much like Sadako's ring virus in Ringu. If you want to save yourself, you need to pass her curse on to someone else. There are methods to make her disappear on the first and second nights, but if you haven't shared her story by the third night, you're all out of options, and it's game over. Many versions of Kashima-san's story involve her appearing to take a person's legs, such as in the following. There's a female ghost with no legs that will appear during the night while you sleep, who will ask you the following. Do you need legs? If you answer no, she will pluck off your legs, and the only way to survive is to chant Kashima-san 3 times. Kashima-san will appear to all who hear this story within 3 days. So whatever you do, don't forget how to survive. Kashima-san's legend lies in 2 different stories. The first, a ghost story called The Ghost Who Appears once you hear its story. And the second, the ghost who comes to steal your legs. Over the years, these two stories combined to become a ghost tale called The Ghastly Creature. The story of the Ghastly Creature was retold in Matsuyama Hiroshi's book, Chasing the Cursed Legend of Kashima-san. It goes as follows. When Miss Aoyama was a child, she heard the story of the ghastly creature who appears in the doorway from a friend. She was told that on a rainy night, the creature will visit by rapping ton ton on the front door. The friend did not paint in detail who this figure was, just that it was a ghastly creature. The ghastly creature will then question whoever opens the door. Do you require legs? To those who answer no, it will cut off and carry away one leg. To those who answer yes, an extra leg will begin to grow on the body. If you ask the ghastly creature, "Where are you from?" it will answer as follows. Kashima. Those who hear of this story will find one rainy night that the ghastly creature will come to visit them, too. The ghastly creature later came to be known as Kashima in 1972 in Sapporo City, Hokkaido. A legend began to spread of a one-armed, one-legged disabled person called Kashima-sama. There's a shrine in Kashima City, Ibaraki Prefecture, dedicated to the god of war, Takemikazuchi. Many soldiers visited the Kashima Jingu shrine to pray for victory during times of war. Folklorist Yanagita Kunio claimed that many yokai were simply gods who had fallen into ruin. With Japan's great loss in World War II, the existing story of the ghastly creature led to the creation of an unidentified yokai named Kashima-sama, the yokaiification of the downfallen god of war from Kashima Jingu. Takemikazuchi was even called Kashima-sama by the locals of Kashima before the legend began. Kashima Jingu has branch shrines all over Japan, including one in Hokkaido that was relocated due to traffic congestion in 1972, the same year the Kashima-san legend was born. Coincidence? Perhaps, but perhaps not. After the word Kashima was applied to the ghastly creature, the yokai became a ghost, and further aspects were added to the story, such as the need to correctly answer the ghost's question. It was here that the first steps towards the legend of Kashima Reiko were taken. At first, the legend claimed you needed to tell 5 people within 3 days, or Kashima-san would appear, and it was here that the legend blew up. The legend quickly spread from Hokkaido down to Niigata Prefecture and caused widespread panic. The story made it all the way to Tokyo, where the addition of the railway tracks version was created. It then spread further to Kansai, giving birth to a version where Kashima-san bears burn scars thanks to the Sennichi department store fire of the 70s. From Kansai, it spread to Hiroshima, birthing a version where Kashima-san was a wounded soldier from the atomic blast of World War II, who went around various areas of the country begging to survive. By the time the legend made its way to Okinawa, having conquered the entire country, several variations existed as to who Kashima-san was, and why he or she existed. The railway tracks version from Tokyo is considered the standard of the Kashima-san legend in modern times, and it's thought this was based on the actual suicide of a woman at Akabana Station in 1935. The woman threw herself in front of a train, and her legs were cut off, but because she was crushed under the train wheels, this stopped her from hemorrhaging. For better or worse, the woman remained alive and was even lucid enough to answer the train conductor's questions. She was eventually taken to the hospital, where she died, but the event was so shocking that it eventually became an urban legend in its own right. In this legend, there was a girl who was cut in half by a train, and yet didn't die. She crawled towards the train conductor, asking for help. The conductor, consumed with fear, climbed a telegraph pole, but the girl crawled up after him. The next morning, his dead body was found on the top of the pole, the girl clinging to his corpse. While this was a complete legend in its own right, the addition of elements from the Kashima-san legend, predominantly, "She will appear to all who hear this story," took it to another level, and once again the story of Kashima-san transformed. With so many variations on the one legend, the following are the key elements that appear across all versions. The first is a ghost missing body parts. While some versions of Kashima-san feature a soldier looking for his lost limbs, most involve a female ghost who is missing either one or both legs, and very occasionally her arms and even head as well. She appears at night while you are sleeping, or in the toilet during the night as well. The second is the ghost will ask you a question. The most common question is, "Do you need legs?" There are cases where she may ask, "Where are my legs?" However, and other times she may ask you about each limb in order. Do you need your left leg? Do you need your left arm? Etc. The third is that if you answer her question incorrectly, she will remove one or all of your limbs. There's no general consensus on how to answer her questions, however. If she asks, "Do you need your legs?" there are versions of the legend where you must answer yes, and versions where you must answer no. The fourth is that once you hear her story, Kashima-san will appear before you within a certain time limit. This is generally 3 days, but in some versions it can be as short as 1 day and as long as a week. If you pass the story on, however, she may skip you entirely. So there are endless variations of the Kashima-san legend, which we have seen so far. Yet, out of all of these stories, the following 3 can be considered the main standards of how Kashima-san came to be. The first is that she is a woman who was hit by a bomb. Kashima-san is a woman who loses her legs in a bomb attack, in some versions, an atomic bomb, during the war. Although she has lost her legs, her upper torso is able to crawl around for a while before she dies. After death, she spends her time looking for her lost legs. The second is a woman who suffered abuse. Kashima-san is a woman who is assaulted by several American soldiers after the Second World War. Enjoying her slow, painful death, the soldiers shoot off both her arms and legs and leave her on a highway. She escapes with her life in exchange for her limbs, but unable to live in such a state any longer, she throws herself in front of a train from her wheelchair. And the third is a woman hit by a train. Kashima-san is a woman from Hokkaido who is involved in an accident at a railway crossing during winter. Her legs are cut off, but due to the cold, her blood freezes and delays her death. She spends her last moments crawling around, looking for the rest of her body. This is, perhaps not so coincidentally, word for word the same legend as Teke Teke, and in some versions Teke Teke and Kashima-san are actually the same person. Like all good urban legends, there are ways to deal with Kashima-san should she ever appear. The first is the one stated right in the legend. Tell someone else about the story. Much like Sadako's ring curse, this will pass her on to become somebody else's problem. But supposing you forget and find Kashima-san leaning over your bed one night, asking you a bunch of questions. Here is how you should answer her. First, if she asks, "Hand over your arms," answer with, "I'm using them right now." Second, if she asks, "Hand over your legs," answer with, "I need them right now." Third, if she asks, "Who did you hear this story from?" answer with, "Kashima-san." Another way to answer this question is presented in the original legend I read at the start of the show, with a little addition to the end. You can chant, "Ka wa kamen no ka." Ka is for the ka of mask. Shi wa shibito no shi. Shi is for the shi of dead person. Ma wa mamono no ma. Ma is for the ma of goblin. Rei wa rei no rei. Rei is for the rei of ghost. Ko wa jiko no ko. Ko is for the ko of accident. This of course spells out Kashima Reiko, her full name. If all this is too much to remember, you can fall back on the fail-safe of chanting Kashima-san, Kashima-san, Kashima-san. But, according to who you want to believe, this may only work on the first night, so best to memorize something else for the next time she appears. Or better yet, pass the story on right now. She can't get you if you share her story with someone else, after all. And that brings us to the end of this week's show. If you have any comments, questions, or requests, you can contact me at kowabana.net or over on Twitter or Facebook. I love hearing from you guys and your thoughts on the show. And if you're looking for even more Japanese horror, you can check out Kowabana Volume 3 on Amazon for over 80 exclusively translated stories. Or you can join our Patreon for early access to the Toshiden and Kowabana podcasts each week, as well as special bonus episodes. Head over to kowabana.net for more right now. Thanks guys, and I'll see you again next time for even more Toshiden, exploring Japanese urban legends. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kowabana.net for new translations every week. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kowabana.net now.